Welcome back to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. I am joined by Governor Jack Markell, who was just in Washington, where you got to testify about new possible EPA regulations for carbon emissions, and you were crowing about how well the state has done. And I was taken by the fact that you can measure that carbon emissions are down in the state of Delaware, because many of the people who argue against taking steps to defeat climate change will say, well, you can't just do it in one area. You can't bring it down in one area. You have the whole rest of the world to worry about, and yet you've done it in one area. Right, and so we've actually reduced emissions by more than any other state on a per capita basis over the last 5 years. And we've done so in part, we we switched out 9 coal-powered power plants in favor of natural gas. The 10th one went from being one of the dirtiest coal-fired power plants in the country to one of the cleanest, because NRG installed hundreds of millions of dollars of emissions control equipment at that one down in Dagsboro. We've increased over the last 5 years by 30 times the solar deployment, from about 2 megawatts to 60 megawatts in the state. We've spurred about $100 million of investment in energy efficiency. So we're taking a lot of the right steps, and we think that the EPA's plan can spur similar improvements across the country. But you're absolutely right that it's frustrating when we make these big improvements here in Delaware. If states to our west are not making improvements, we still get a lot of their pollution, and which is why we think that the national improvement is so important. You recently talked about making certain that teachers in the state get a higher salary, get more money. I looked it up, and the starting salary for teachers in Delaware is pretty good. I mean, it's 11th in the country. Is that not good enough? Well, compared to some of our surrounding states, we have plenty of teachers in Delaware who could be great teachers here, who either choose, once they start teaching here, they go to some of the surrounding states because they can get higher salaries, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, as an example. And it's not just, it's also about paying for what we value. And so one of the most frustrating conversations that I can have is with a great teacher who says they love teaching, they want to stay in teaching, but the only way for them to make more money is if they move out of the classroom and they become an assistant principal. Well, that's not a great strategy for us, because we want those teachers to be able to stay in the classroom. So the idea of changing the way that we compensate teachers, providing a different kind of career ladder so great teachers can stay in the classroom, providing more supports to other teachers, more guidance to other teachers, we think is an appropriate way to go. We haven't pulled this off yet. The Legislature, General Assembly did pass a bill at the end of the year that I signed, basically laying out the parameters of a changed way of compensating our teachers, but we now have a group together to see if we can actually put that theory into reality, and we're working hard on it. Yeah, and just to back up what you say, I did also check surrounding states. Pennsylvania, a few $1,000s higher. New Jersey, much higher. Yeah. Maryland, much higher. Yeah. So you're saying it doesn't really matter what they're doing in Tennessee. The teachers here can go just across the border.
Exactly.
And work somewhere else.
That's the one of the great things. We're all very close to each other here, and you can live in any of those states and work in any other state.
I wanted to talk quickly about this problem that Delaware has with inversion and states going to leave because they have tax benefits elsewhere in foreign lands, offshore. The state could lose $1 billion when that happens, but there's an irony to this, because Delaware.
Where do you get the $1 billion?
Another article. I can look it up. It said $1 billion can be taken out. This is an article that was done out of Washington with Tom Carper and John Carney trying to fight for this. Yeah. It's not $1 billion?
Well, I mean, $1 billion is basically what we get in total from companies that pay the franchise tax here, the business franchise tax, and the like. So, yeah, I guess if every one of them left.
Yeah, it says you bring in $1 billion.
Yeah,
not that you stand to lose $1 billion, that you bring in $1 billion. If I misphrased that, I apologize. Okay. But it is, there's a little irony in that, because people come to Delaware to avoid taxes in other states, and they set up franchises here.
No, that's not true.
That's other governors will say that.
Yeah, well, it's just not true. I mean, the companies come here. We have the same exact tax policies. If you incorporate in Delaware, you incorporate in another state. The federal tax policies apply the same in Delaware as they do elsewhere. And so companies incorporate here for 3 main reasons. One is we have the best understood corporate law in the country. It is the defining corporate law. Secondly, we've got the best business court in the country, not just the Chancery Court, but also Superior, These are judges who are really very sophisticated when it comes to these business kinds of cases. On the Chancery Court, they're just 5 judges, no jury trials, and this is what they do. So they're extraordinarily skilled members of the judiciary. And finally, our Division of Corporations is really unlike any division of, unlike any government entity you'll find elsewhere. I mean, these folks work, sometimes 24 hours a day. They're incredibly responsive, very accessible. And so it's really, I know people think it's about the taxes. It's really not about the taxes.
We're going to wrap this up when we come back. This is Larry Menti with Governor Jack Markell on the Delaware Way.